players.
I'll begin with the same question we asked the first four 25, 30 minutes ago. If you had one idea to enhance the safety of this game, and it's on everybody's mind, do you have one concept that you would like to see applied, or is this game as safe as it can be?
I think we're always trying to do that. Tackling is the big thing that everyone wants to talk about, and removing the head from tackling, which we do. But if I probably could say, I don't know if we could actually do it, but I'm always looking to try to help the big guys. And I don't know that we always focus on the big guys, but if we could get rid of cutting, which obviously is not going to happen, but just be more conscious of things like that, because they're guys too, and we need them every bit as much as we need defenseless players and quarterbacks and things like that. But I think we're doing a great job in football of trying to make it safer. I just think we got to continue to focus on, as we continue to grow it, what other ways are there?
Mike?
Well, I think it's all about the education, and that's one thing that NCAA, all of our institutions have really had a great push over the last few years of educating the student athletes. The emphasis of taking the head out of the game, with the head-to-head contact. Some of the new rules and regulations. Obviously we all want to see that officiated and implied the right way, but it's you can tell the growth that we have, and I think the game is as safe as it's been in a long time, and I'm excited about the further growth of what we're going to do with it, through that educational aspect.
Phil?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. As you look at it, the safety of our student athletes is the most important part of it, and we talk about the game element of it. I think you also got to reflect that back to your practice side of it and what you're doing there, making sure that the drills that we're using really coincide with that. I think we're doing a much better job of teaching the tackling aspect of it. Talking to USA Football yesterday and the amount of education that we're giving our younger players and our young coaches that are out there, I think that's a huge part of this continuing to change and evolve and make us an even safer game.
Mike?
I think everybody's kind of hit on a lot of the key ones, and Luke mentioned the one that came to my mind most immediately was, continuing to look at the evolution of the cut block within the rules. But I do think that what Philip just mentioned right there is probably the number one thing, and that's, making sure our coaches, not only at the college level, but at lower high school, youth league, that we're teaching proper technique, and that we're really establishing strong fundamentals. And if we are truly working to take the head out of the game the way we're trying to with our tackling techniques, to make sure that's being taught at a younger age, that we have a better chance of having stronger habits when they get to us.
Is this game officiated as well as can be expected? Or do you want to see improvement in officiating techniques? What do you think?
I think our conference, this past year, there was a change in, the organization and how the group that was leading our officiating, and I think that we made great. It was a great enhancement to the consistency of it, and the way that we're uniform and what we're asking our officials to do. You always want to see improvement, and I think that's one thing that I'm excited about, is that you see everybody takes ownership in that improvement. And at our head coaches meetings, to see and hear the focus of where they're trying to grow, and some of the rules that have come across to the NCAA with the review of targeting and things like that. It's we're all in this together. Everybody wants to put their best foot forward, but I'm excited about where the American's heading and the group that we have leading our officiating.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a trick question or not. I think we all want improvement, right? But I love the direction that we're going with our officiating right now. I thought we took a big step in the right direction last year. I want to coach better. I want my players to play better, and I want officials to officiate better. I think we're all on the same page, wanting the same thing. We're not going to get it right every time. We want to make sure that we get those calls that are obvious and they jump out at you. We know we're going to miss a holding here. We're going to miss this there. but get the big ones and continue to be upfront about when we miss things. You know, when I make a bad call, I'm gonna be upfront about it. When they make a bad call, let's be upfront about it. And I think when you do that, you have an opportunity to be on the same page and that relationship to continue to grow.
Is it possible to interpret the targeting rule properly, or is it always going to be controversial?
I think it's going to be better with the changes made this year. I think giving the replay booth more authority is a positive move. And so I do think that you're going to see it applied more correctly this year. But I think, you know, with everything, we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to look at things. You know, my big concern this year is the blindside block rule and how consistently can that be enforced week to week. You know, because what you don't want as coaches is it's enforced one way one week, a different way the next week, because, you know, we've got to know how to teach, you know, our players properly.
Is that just a matter of a difference in officiating crews and the makeup of those crews?
You know, it's my first year in the league, so
Okay.
you know, I haven't experienced this conference, but I think what we all want is we all want consistency week to week. You know, no matter what crew you get, you want the game officiated as closely the same way as possible.
Luke?
I think it's always going to be difficult to determine the targeting because we all see it through a different lens. If it's my kid, sometimes, as much as we want to be objective, we see it through a different lens. You know, if it's your guy getting hit, you see it a little bit through a different lens, which obviously the official sees it through a different lens. So I don't think it's ever going to be like, well, this is the simple way to do it. Obviously, there's ones that are really easy. There's ones that are very difficult. The thing I would like to have is ultimately we've got the young men in mind. Obviously, safety is first, but these guys spend a lot of time, 280-some days a year, working out, doing all the things they do to get 12 opportunities to guarantee to them to play a game. If there's some type of accident, if there's some type of, you know, accidental head-to-head contact, to have a kid lose an entire game or a half a game because of something that was not malicious, personally, I would say that's when I have the bigger issue, is to say, look, these guys are trying. They're not malicious about it. Don't take the opportunities these guys away of playing.
Are you, as a quartet of coaches, are you concerned about the creeping evidence of gambling in college athletics? Is that something that you worry about?
I got 119 guys, and I'm worried about anything after 10 o'clock at night. I'm worried about social media. I'm worried about, you know, their girlfriends. But I don't want to say I'm being naive. I don't know that gambling is probably on the forefront of my mind. Okay. So I kind of refer to whatever we think is best and the people that are studying it, whether it's, you know, the FBI. I don't know. I would rather just take directive of what helps us make our game better. You guys do the best job at taking that out of, because if I'm spending a lot of time worrying about gambling, I'm probably not preparing 110 kids to get better at what it is that they do.
Anybody?
Yeah, it's the same thing, just the education for our student athletes, the understanding expectation and the right way to do things. And you know, nobody sitting on this stage has any true voice and you know where gambling is going and things like that you know, across the country. But we can do our best, the best job possible to impact those 100 you know, we have 117 players on our team, and you know how you're going to educate them in the do's and don'ts, and you know, obviously how they carry themselves.
I think it has added it to the list of things that we've got to discuss and educate and talk about. You know, I think those are the things you want to cover and continue to cover. But I think, like Luke was saying, I'm going to let some of the people in a little bit higher position kind of worry with that right now as we're kind of approaching and going into it. I'm going to address it with our team. But there's some other things that we've got to get done too, and we got to make sure that we're focused on what we've got to do each and every week.
I approach this from old fogey status. I am not a user of social media. I'm going to get through the end of my life and probably never hit send, because I think it's the most dangerous four-letter word in the English language now, forget the F word, is the presence of social media a concern to you guys as coaches?
There's no doubt. I mean, we spend, I'm sure we all do, spend a lot of time at the beginning of this fall camp talking about how to appropriately use social media and just being conscientious that our players, you know, they don't only represent themselves with what they put on their Twitter feed or whatever, but they also represent us. They represent our institution, our football program, and just you know, being conscientious about how they portray us to the world. Because as soon as you put it out there, it's out there. And you know, in times when you're frustrated or upset about something, you know, you've got to be really thoughtful about, you know, what you want to say, and probably not say anything at all at those times.
Luke?
It's always a difficult thing. It's not going away. I try to use it, and I don't just mean social media. I mean even the camera phone and all those things that, you know, there's so many positive things about social media and how they get information and instantly, because I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are not ADD, maybe diagnosed, but they want it now. I think our ability to spin it in a positive way, I try to use it as positive as possible to say, this is your conscience, whether it's something that's being filmed, something that you say, this is who you are. You got to be conscious that, you know, everybody's going to evaluate you based on your actions because they see everything, and then the things that you ultimately say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You know, I think there's a lot of different things for your student athletes. You know, it adds to the pressure of what their experience is, and on social media they are now open access, and you know, whether it's people tagging them after a great game, or if they come up short, you know, being able to handle that you know, at a whole different level than what it has been at the past, it does create a different dynamic, and you've got to kind of bring your guys along, and understanding as well that not everything you read on social media is true. And so, what do you want your message to be? How do you want that to be perceived? And then also understanding that people that might reach out to you, you know, they don't necessarily have your best intentions in mind, and you know, they're just looking for the reaction. And so it's definitely a challenge to be an 18 to 22-year-old playing this game on a national scale, because there's so many people that can come at you.
Phil?
Yeah, I think these guys all represented that question pretty well. You know, you might look at it from a different perspective. You know, when our guys they're on campus, they're out having lunch somewhere, having dinner somewhere, you got to remember that everybody's got a camera on them. And it's not just what you put on social media, but it's what somebody else can put on social media about you. And so it's all about representing yourself and your family and our family from a university standpoint in the right way, and making sure that as you put stuff out there, you know it's going to be there forever, and it's going to come back, and you see it every year, whether you're talking about the draft, you're talking about something going on in baseball, something that happened back when you were in high school. Those things don't go away, and it's going to be part of you. So you got to be very thoughtful about what you put out.
A question for all of you again. There are certain expectations of a student athlete when he enrolls in the university. The pursuit of an education being most prominent. I'm just curious if there is an answer to what obligation does the university have toward that student athlete, if any? Do you nurture him or her toward the pursuit of a degree, or do you kind of let them swim as they must?
I think, I mean, absolutely. That's our obligation, is to make sure that every student athlete that comes into our university or our program, you know, has a daily focus of growth academically, growth socially. You know, being able to at the end, you know, be able to walk across that stage and give themselves an opportunity to change their lives with a college degree in hand. You know, that's with the NCAA and a lot of the eligibility, you know, things that have been put in place that assist in the way, but it's also, you know, trying to achieve at an elite level, and that's something that you know, I think when you look around our conference, you know, our coaches, they've all done a great job of that, but you know, we definitely have an obligation to make sure that when somebody comes into our program, that we see them leave, you know, and however long that takes, you know, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, to have that college degree in hand.
Yeah, I mean, you look at us in recruiting. I mean, in recruiting, it's all about relationships with the student athletes, the prospects, and their families. And so when we take a young man, he signs with us, then I think we are obligated. I mean, I think we're making a commitment to the parents that, we're going to take care of their sons the way, they would expect them to be taken care of. And, for me, it's just like Mike just mentioned. I mean, it's not just academically. I mean, it's socially and football. It's those all three areas. And so, it's our responsibility to help them achieve their dreams and their goals. That's our job. So on a daily basis, we're not their parents, but to a degree, you're taking that role, at our institution. So to me, it's very important when you join our family that you graduate and you achieve what you dream to achieve of.
Anybody else? Phil?
For me, you talk about family, and it's really big around our place, just like it is, I'm sure, around everybody's. But, as these young men come in within your program, they become part of your family. They become your sons, and you are responsible for it. And as we prepare and look for the future here, we're always talking about, I know your number one dream right now is to go play in the NFL, but we're not going to have a 1 and a 2. Getting your degree is going to be right up there at the top of it. And we've got to make sure that we're in daily pursuit of that, and we're going to hold you accountable to that. And we want our parents to be involved in that process as well. So as we go through this journey of getting our degree, we're all going to go hand in hand, and we're going to make sure that we get that done, because at the end of the day, that's what you came to college for, and that's what's going to set you apart. And you may be the first one in your family to ever have the opportunity to do that.
Do you guys as coaches understand the desire for student athletes to monetize their image? Should they somehow, I don't have any idea how to go about this, but I know there was a lawsuit claiming the rights to your own self-image, or is any ideas about how to do that?
I mean, I think that's one of the great challenges with college football, because as these young men, they are amateurs, and I don't think anybody wants to see collegiate athletes become professionals, because there's a lot of different dynamics that come with that. We offer scholarships, we provide education support. I want to see these student athletes get everything that they can. But I still want them to be amateurs, because when you sit there and if you have a bad game or if you have a bad season, when you become a professional, you get fired. And I don't think that's something that, at the end of the day, these guys are about a journey. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be things that you help them grow through the process. But, to be able to provide them with the resources necessary to get an education, to live a life where they can, if they need to travel, if they need to, things to be taken care of, I'm all about. But, you also want them to maintain that amateur status, because I just think there's a whole lot of other factors that come into, making them professionals.
I've always kind of held firm to it, and of believing that I think as a college student, you're supposed to struggle a little bit. I don't know what your likeness is going to give you while you're in there, but the idea that you're supposed to struggle as an 18 to 22-year-old, you've got people around you, you've got a structure around you that's going to help you grow. Those challenging times, whether it's not having enough money to do some little things, I think is what really gives you an opportunity to be successful in the long run. The other thing is, I believe, and again, we're talking monetarily sometimes with your likeness and your image. I tell them, if you don't learn how to manage a little bit of money, you sure as hell are going to have a hard time managing a lot of money. And your ability to learn that in a 3, 4, 5-year period, I think is what's going to set you up for the rest of your life. And if you take care of that, all the universities that we're from are going to, in the long run, take care of those guys.
Mike?
Yeah, I just think that a couple of things that Mike and Luke both mentioned, I think you got to be careful with opening Pandora's box, because I think once you open it, you think, well, this is the only thing you're going to get, but there's going to be a lot of side consequences that go along with it. And I don't think any of us want to see college athletics go down that road. And so I would like to see us maybe find ways to help the student athletes out more in other ways, you know, or maybe the families with travel or stuff. I know they've done some things with the bowl games and things like that, but you know, they've, to a degree, you know, they're getting an education. They're being taken care of in every way possible. You know, the cost of attendance stipend is a significant, you know, help to them. So I think that it's a pretty good deal with them remaining amateurs in the current setting.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Good luck this year, all of you. I hope you all go 12-0.
Thanks.
Okay. Luke, Mike, Philip, Mike, thank you very much.
What's up, everybody? It's Chris Ferguson coming straight from the University of Cincinnati, offensive lineman from Nassau, Bahamas. We here at American Conference Media Day having a great time. Go Bearcats!
That was Chris Ferguson having a